Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about all the books that I read in February. I actually had a really good reading month in February. I would say one of the best reading ones I've had in a really long time. I read 9 books and I had 3 5-star reads, which is a lot. I can't even say the last time I've had 3 5-star reads in 1 month, and some of them were also 4.5, 4.25. Like, I think the lowest, I had 2 books that I rated within the 3-star range, and everything else was 4 to 5 stars. So I generally just loved so many of the books that I ended up picking up this month. So I hope that we kind of have the same luck going forward into March next month, or this month when I'm filming this. So yeah, I thought in order to just change up the video format a little bit, we would talk about them in order of how much I loved them. So I will tell you my least favorite to my most favorite and give you all of my ratings and my thoughts as we go through this video. So the first book is Mad About You by Mhairi McFarlane, and I listened to that one on audiobook and I gave that one 3 stars. It was definitely my least favorite book that I read this month, and it's not because I didn't like it. I listened to it during my 24-hour reading vlog and it was entertaining enough. I just didn't feel that connection with the characters that I typically like, even if, like, I don't need perfect characters or super lovable characters to enjoy a story, but I thought that the story wasn't that interesting. So with a mediocre storyline and mediocre characters, I just didn't feel anything for the story, and so I gave that one 3 stars. Coming in at number 8, we have No Place Left to Hide by Lally. This was the first book that I read this month and I enjoyed it. This is a thriller about a girl, I think her name is Brooke. Yeah, Brooke. I actually remember this story very vividly and I really enjoyed it. It was so fast-paced, so entertaining, and I really loved and was rooting for our main character, Brooke. So this follows a girl, Brooke, who is she comes from a very prestigious family and she has her heart set on Yale. She's a senior and she's about to find out whether she got into Yale or not. There's this day, which I think is like Ivy League Day, where all the Ivy hopefuls find out whether they got into their school of choice or not. And on this day there's a party and Brooke goes to this party and somebody has been kind of blackmailing her because she allegedly did something, or there was an incident with another student a year before and somebody thinks that she had something to do with it, and so they've kind of been blackmailing her. And then one day when she's coming back from this party, she realizes that somebody, maybe the same person, is trailing her. And so honestly, I thought that the action and the thrilling aspect of this was done really well. The scenes where she was on the road and like being tailed by this person and in such danger and like peril, and her kind of attitude towards it, knowing that she thinks that she could outsmart whoever it is that's tailing her, and that confidence, it was such a great recipe for intense action and drama. So yeah, it was really good. The only thing that underwhelmed me was the reveal and the motive. That's all I will say. But I really enjoyed this. I gave this one 3.75, I would say. Yeah, I gave this 3.75. Coming in at number 7, we have The Night the River Wept by Fredrik. I picked this book up on a whim one day in the bookstore and I just thought that the premise was interesting. It's basically about this rich housewife who is having a really hard time mentally. She decides to go and work as a clerk in the evidence department at the police station, and she finds herself becoming very entangled. She finds herself reading cold cases, and she becomes really intrigued in one specific case about these 3 young boys who were many years ago, maybe 20 years ago, and she kind of tries to solve the case because she has nothing else to do. And the real best part about this book was the main character, who was our narrator, being in her head and her consciousness. And I also finished this in my 24-hour reading vlog where I talk a lot more about it, but being in her consciousness was so entertaining. She is a little bit unhinged, to be honest, but in a really good way. I just loved following her. I loved seeing the story and the mystery unravel around her. I really enjoyed this. I loved Patrick's writing style and the way that she wrote all of the characters, where you always felt like everybody had their cards really close to their chest and you didn't really know. It really felt like you were there with our main character, just trying to figure out what everybody is hiding and why, and what the real secret was. And so yeah, I thought that this was so well done. I gave this one 4 stars, and yeah, I really liked this one. The next book, so coming in at number 6, we have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. And this could have easily been in first place in a different month. I just, as I said, read a lot of really good books this month, so I know the girlies love this one, so please don't come for me. But I gave this one 4.5 stars, or 4.25. I think I landed on 4.25 stars for Just for the Summer, and not because I didn't absolutely love it. I really loved it, and I thought that it was so well done. The writing was good. The setting was so fun. I really liked, where was it that Minnesota, I think? If I'm not wrong, I think it was Minnesota. And I binged this. I read this within 2 days, and I just thought that the romance was very sweet. I loved the characters. They were so lovable, and I loved following both of their respective journeys of trying to break. Okay, so I didn't tell you what this is about. This is about 2 characters who both think they are cursed romantically, to a point where every time they break up with somebody, that person goes on to find the love of their life. And so they have this idea to date each other, and when they break up, it will cancel out the curse, and so they will both go on to find the love of their life. So this one I really liked. I loved both of the main characters. I thought they were really well fleshed out, and just kind and considerate and lovable characters that you really wanted to root for. So it was a real pleasure to read this book. I can't say that it wasn't, but I'm not obsessed with it, which is why I couldn't give it any higher than 4.25. But while I was reading it, I was really into it. I was so engaged, and I just thought that there was something missing in it for me, because okay, this is my thing. I classify romance differently in my head. So there's literary fiction with romance / romance fiction with romance. I kind of classify that in one category, and I think there's different criteria to be met in that category. I classify rom-com in one category, and then emotional romance in its own category. So I was putting this in emotional romance, which I assumed it was. Everybody said that it was, and it was, but it wasn't. It didn't get all of the emotions out for me that I wanted. And I also just, I don't know, I wasn't obsessed with it. I don't know why I'm over explaining why I wasn't obsessed with it, but I just think that there's a higher threshold for me when it comes to emotional romance, and this one didn't exactly hit the mark, but I really enjoyed it. So there was one more thing that I didn't like about this book, I thought the relationship that the main female character had with her best friend, there were times that I was really, really frustrated with her, with the best friend, because the main character, I need to stop calling her that. What was her name? Emma. Yeah, Emma has a really complicated relationship with her mom, and I thought that there was a serious lack of understanding and consideration for Emma in the way that she approached her mom and that complicated relationship and situation, because you don't have to accept it as a friend, and you can obviously encourage your friend to say, you know, you deserve better, you shouldn't stand for this, whatever. But that's one thing, and then kind of making her feel guilty when she's already in a really complicated and emotional situation. I just didn't like that approach, and I thought that it was really frustrating to read some of the scenarios that came up between Emma and Mhairi. So that was one thing. Coming in at number 5, we're in top 5 category now. The X Talk by Lynn-Solomon. I loved this book. I gave this one 4.5 stars because I just thought it was so fun. That is literally all. And as I was explaining with my romance categorizations, this I thought was just a straight up rom-com. This was one of my treadmill books of the month, and I thought it was so fun. At the end, I just couldn't put it down. I was walking so much, my legs were hurting because I loved, was it Dominic? Yeah, Dominic and Shay, and they both have like this radio show where they pretend to be exes and kind of give relationship advice and stuff, and it was fun. There was, I think, some things about it that didn't rub me the right way, so I feel like there's an age gap between them, so Shay is a little bit older than Dominic. I felt like that was talked about a lot internally, but it was never dealt with. So I do feel like that's kind of an insecurity or an issue that Shay may have, and she never vocalized it. I like when there is something jarring to a character and we could see it in their head or hear it in their head. I like that it's vocalized and it's kind of dealt with. I felt like she kept bringing it up and or like thinking about it, and it never came up as an issue. So that was one thing that kind of bothered me. And then they very often talked about how tall and big Dominic is and how tiny she is, which is, I know, a pet peeve for so many people. And it did come to a point where it was enough. But I really, really liked the story. I thought the banter and the chemistry between the two of them was so good. This was one of my favorite rom-coms that I've read recently. It was so fun and fast-paced and so adorable. The scenarios that they were getting into and kind of the openness that they both came to each other with once they realized that there were some feelings involved. I thought it was good. It was a very mature and cute and fun rom-com. Alright, now we are going to talk about number 4, which was my first sci-fi read in a very long time. Definitely my first adult sci-fi ever, I think. And it was Sea of Tranquillity by Emily St. John Mandel. I thought I was going to hate this book. I read one book by this author before and I didn't like it at all. I think it was Station 11. Something about all of the pandemic talk was really, really annoying and felt like clickbait but in book form to me, and I just didn't like that. And so yeah, I was nervous going into this one, but reading the back of this book really intrigued me. And then I asked my fiance to choose a book for me to read because I was just in a place where I felt like I didn't want to make any decisions, and sometimes I just ask him to choose a book for me, and he chose this one. I almost DNF'd it at like early on, because I was just like, what is going on? I was just so confused. But I kind of recognize now that sci-fi, it all adds up at the end. You kind of need to be very patient with sci-fi, especially this kind of speculative sci-fi type of thing where it's just, I don't know, vague until the end. Like, you just have no idea what is happening until the end. So I really ended up enjoying it. This has a lot to do with, okay, I don't want to say actually what it has to do with, so I will read you the back. That's all I knew going into this book. Who could you sacrifice to protect the future? Lives separated by time and space have collided, and an exiled Englishman, a writer trapped far from home, and a girl destined to die too young have each glimpsed a world that is not their own. Traveling through the centuries between colonies on the moon and an ever-changing Earth, together their lives will solve a mystery that will make you question everything you thought you knew to be true. So interesting. And this is quite literally exactly what the book was, and I just really liked it. It made me feel very reflective and contemplative, and I really enjoyed following the main character and his journey, kind of discovering some of these truths and things that he never knew existed. So yeah, it was fascinating. I really loved it, and there were also some quotes in here that I really liked. So yeah. Yeah, I just loved it. I can't read you some of the quotes because they feel like spoilers, but okay, let me read you this one. In those streets, everyone moved faster than me, but what they didn't know was that I already moved too fast, too far, and wished to travel no further. I've been thinking a great deal about time and motion lately, about being a still point in a ceaseless rush. It was so good. It was so good. Listen, trust me, you don't know how good it is until it's done. And I have been looking for whatever this is since I finished it. So if anybody knows any books, if anybody knows any books that are similar to Sea of Tranquillity, please let me know, because I really enjoyed it. I gave that one 4.5 or possibly 4.75. I think I'm leaning more towards 4.75 on that one. We're in 5-star territory now, because I had, as I said, 3 5-star reads this month. So the first one, and it was really hard to rank these because they all kind of got the same rating, but there was some that I loved more than others. So the first one, in number 3, A Man Called Uwe by Fredrik Backman. Everybody who knows me knows that this is my author, this is my boy. I love Mr. Backman. He is just, there's something so homey. I feel like he's my dad. Literally, if my dad were to write books, this is who I would equate him with. So it just always feels like coming home when I read a Fredrik Backman book. And this one is about Uwe, who is kind of feeling purposeless. He's about to be 60 and he lost his job and he just doesn't know his purpose anymore. And then a family moves in across the street and force themselves upon him, and it just follows the story from there, and how you could find family at any time and in any place, and that purpose comes in all shapes and forms, and change is okay. And it's just, this book and the quotes in this book definitely won me for the month. I thought that just every I don't know, it had me laughing out loud, it had me crying. I loved Uwe, and I loved watching, and also learning about his backstory with his wife. It was just so precious. The whole story was just so precious. It felt like Up the movie Up with like the balloons and the little boy and the old man. That's what this felt like in the best way possible. Like the montage with him and his wife. I loved this. It was so good. 5 stars. Then in number 2 was my only fantasy this month, The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen. I really, really liked this one. I ate it up. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I know Madison read it in January. She's the reason that I even picked it up in the first place. But it was just fun. It was fun. It was entertaining. It was high stakes. Extremely high stakes, because this one follows a princess who has... Okay, let me read the back, because I don't want to give anything away. Okay, let me just read this then. A warrior princess trained in isolation, Lara is driven by 2 certainties. The first is that King Aaron of the Bridge Kingdom is her enemy, and the second is that she'll be the one to bring him to his knees. Yeah, that's what this was about. And it was fantastic. I loved, and I also think that this entire series is going to eat me alive. Like, I'm just so not ready for whatever is going to happen in the series, but also I'm so ready and I'm so excited. And I can't wait for the other books to come, because I ordered them. So yeah, I really loved it. I thought that our main character, following her, was interesting, because there was a lot of internal conflict and realizations and growth within her that we saw from her perspective that I really, really liked. And I also loved that it was the POV. So we also got her husband's perspective, and not only were we getting to see how they each felt about each other at every step of the way, but just generally getting to hear their perspectives and their loyalties and their motivations for why they do what they do. I just thought it was fascinating, and I really, really loved it. There was also some really great quotes in here. I know that there was one that had me literally like blushing, kicking my feet. Oh my gosh, I won't say it. But there was one, let me see if I can't say it. Yeah, it was this. I can't say it either. And it wasn't that's the thing. It was this is not a generally spicy book, but I think there was one or two scenes. Why did it eat? It was so good. And like the preamble, the way that Danielle Jensen kind of set the stage, it just felt like such high stakes. It was so good. Listen, I was literally losing it at the scene. But it was so good. And coming in at number 1, which might be controversial, because first of all, I've never read the first 2 books in this interconnected standalone series, and I know some people have been saying that this is their least favorite. Some people have said it's their favorite, some people have said it's their least favorite. So I don't know, but I don't care. Beg, Borrow, Steal by Sarah Adams was so good. I think, and this is hard for me to say, honestly, because I've had my number 1 rom-com book kind of solidified for many years. I think for 4 years now, or maybe 3. You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogel has been my number 1 she has never been dethroned. And as I said, there are different categories for romance. So it's not my favorite romance of all time, but my favorite rom-com by leaps and bounds. But this one, I had to sit on the floor after and just think. I just had to think about life and about, not even life, just about how amazing this is and how people have the ability to write books so well. Like, it really throws me. Because the way that these characters feel like literally my best friends that I'm watching fall in love. So dramatic, but so good. This one follows two school teachers during the summertime. And I saw a video, I can't remember her name. But I literally saw a video today talking about this book. And that she was really disappointed that it didn't follow their antics during school time because they are in summer, but the premise is that they are teachers and that they're rivals, and that is the reason that I picked up this book. But I actually forgot. I forgot that was the reason I picked up the book in the first place, because I was just so enamored by them. I think they are so cute, and my thing is, I love second chance romance, but it doesn't have to be second chance as in exes or anything. I just love a romance that has a history where the people have known each other or loved each other for a really long time, and they're trying to find their way now in the present. I fear I will eat it up every single time it's presented to me on a plate, aka a book. So it's not surprising that I really like this, because these are two rivals. They were rivals since they were in college, and they kind of still are. They now teach at the same school, and they still kind of bicker and go back and forth and are always competing with each other. So yeah, I do wish that we would have gotten a little bit more of that. I understand where she was coming from when she said that, but I actually didn't care because they were still bickering. It just turns out that this was more neighbors to lovers than like teachers, like co-workers to lovers, because he ended up moving next door to her. So her rival, also her co-worker, also her neighbor, that she has this back and forth kind of bickering, bantering relationship with. Also, this female main character, she's a little bit too me, just a little bit too familiar. I've seen this one before, you know. There are a lot of moments in there where I was like, why is she so real? She is so real. And in some ways I'm nothing like her at all, but there are some ways that I'm very much like her, and I felt so seen by this character. I love her relationship with her sisters and just her family in general, and I obviously know that they are from the other stories, and maybe now I'm motivated to read the others, but I just really loved following their romance. I love a romance where the two characters just know each other. That's what really got me with this one. They knew each other so well, like to a T. 9 out of 10 times things don't have to be told. Like, nothing needs to be said for them to know what the other person needs or wants. And it was just a friendship / love disguised as a rivalry for so many years, and seeing them finally come to the realization that, oh, maybe we don't need each other. And also there were emails between the two of them that were like sprinkled in here, and the emails coming on to the end of this book, guys, it was so good. It was so good. I loved it. I've never felt the need to immediately go back and read a book ever. Like, I love when I finish a book and I'm done with the story and I'm like, oh yay, on to the next, or oh yay, I finally know the entire story. I'm so happy. It was so good, or it was so bad, or whatever. I usually feel very satisfied when I read a book, but with this I was like, okay, another one, thank you, I want it again, I will read it again right now. but I didn't because I have so many other books that I need to read. But I feel this is a 6-star read. It was so good to me. I can't stop thinking about it. I might reread it. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, this was my favorite book this month. I loved it so much. And now I feel I need to go back and read every single book Sarah Adams have ever written. So wish me luck. Okay, thank you all so much for watching. That was all the books that I read in February. And I will see you again next month at the end of March to talk about all the books that I read then. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.